This is a bottom bait. It's quite a heavy bait, so I fish it on the bottom. It's got quite a few fish. And then we have different baits of different colours and sizes as you go up. Some are silver, some are brass, and I always fish brass 3 down because sometimes you're getting a mess, and when you bring your lines in, you recognise the bait and you know which side it's on, and that hopefully helps sort it out. Well, the lake's got warmer because of global warming in general, and this water's warmed up like all other lakes. And these char, they're on the edge of their environmental limit, so they can't really take a lot of change before it threatens the species, any species.
There's no impact of the angling on the populations. The first thing you see when the population is overfished is you lose the big old fish, but there's no sign of that in Windermere, and the numbers of fish taken by these anglers are tiny compared to populations of fish and so on. So there's no significant effect. The fishing, it's not a commercial operation. Lakes are strongly influenced by things that happen in their catchment, and one of the key things is nutrients coming into lakes. And in this part of the world, phosphorus is a particular nutrient which comes in, which can cause problems with blue-green algae or oxygen problems and so on. So one of the things we can readily do is control that phosphorus coming into the lake, with improved treatment of sewage, for example, but also by using low phosphorus detergents.
The FBA has been taking lake temperatures since the early 1930s, and we do that every day. So the temperature has roughly increased from 10.5 to 11.5, which, even though it's only 1 degree, for a body of water this size, it's absolutely massive. Looking at these trends, it gives the indication that the temperature of the lake is going to continue to rise, which is obviously going to have an impact on the ecology of the lake. So from the data, the future doesn't look good, but we can all make a difference. Just making small changes such as turning lights off, reducing the amount of water that we use, car sharing, could all make a difference, not just locally but on a global scale as well. So we should be working together and doing all that we can to help protect the environment for future generations.
The Environment Agency started a logbook scheme for anglers, and they write down how many hours they fished, where they were fishing and what species they caught. So if we know how many fish they've caught, and critically we know how many hours they've fished for, so we've got their effort, then we work out this catch per unit effort, and that fits in exactly with the same story we get from the hard acoustics and from our other scientific sampling.
You see, fish per unit effort is 1, right? So that's what we know from our logbooks. So hopefully within an hour we'll catch 1 fish. But when you think about it, I mean, I'm fishing now with 9 lures at various depths all the way down the lake. We've had sort of 1 knock. So what chance do you stand with a rod and line? You know, not a lot.
The anglers' catches and the logbooks that they keep for us are extremely useful because they give us a very good measure of the relative abundance of char. So our echo sounding gives us char-like echoes, but we can't be entirely sure that it's all char. So we get in all this detail all the time. And the sort of the pixels, if you like, they're individual fish, so you can see this one's been hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that was in the sound beam for like a second, 2 seconds. So in addition to the echo sound, for counting the numbers of char, we also have a small machine called an ROV, a remotely operated vehicle, which is a tiny submarine with video camera, and we use that to look at the condition of the spawning grounds of the char beds. And the major thing we're looking at is for an absence of fine sediments which would suffocate the char's eggs.
Certainly on Windermere there's less and less people fishing. I'd say there's probably only about 8 or 9 of us now, but they're definitely harder to catch. You know, when they spawn, they need cold water for their fry to survive. What we need is a really good hard winter, you know, snow and ice. Why we do it? Well, because they taste so nice.
When char pots were first being made in the early 17th century. They were very much part of the disposable culture of the day. Char pots were made for domestic use. A family would buy some potted char, and the vessel that the char was contained in was only ever made to be used once, which is why there are so few of them around now. They were the waxed coffee cups of the day, really. The pot that we've produced for the char is a pot that is glazed purely with local ingredients. I'm using a combination of Shat Pink granite and local wood ashes, a little bit of iron from Florence Minor Egremont. The wood ash is taken from wood that we have actually collected around the shores of Lake Windermere, so literally bringing the lake into the pot. It's part of the ecosystem that the char are also part of. It's about the ecology and heritage of this area.
Right, I'm going to get on the pegs because you just sit, you get a bit cool, you know what I mean? Oh, God. Right, come on you char. There's a fish. Did you see that knock? That is a fish.
I looked in an old traditional cookbook, found a potted char recipe and then thought it's not really what I would do. So I changed a lot of the foreign spices for locally foraged things that are similar, just to give it more of a sort of wild Cumbrian theme to it. I've seen a massive change in certain things due to climate change. We don't get as many mushrooms as we used to do. You know, as soon as the sort of sunny period finishes, we're just getting nothing but rain, which as soon as they come up they turn to mush. We're looking for sort of spicy bits, so you know, we're going to use hogweed seeds, which are quite aromatic, angelica seeds. We're going to pop back to the sort of garden, and our fennel's in flower at the moment, so we're going to take some of the fennel pollen and use some fresh pollen for that. You don't have to travel far if you know the right places to look. Quite a lot of stuff is readily available at the lakeside where we get the char from. Well, you know, originally they used to be putting char pie. Obviously that developed into potting them as a way of preserving them, because the butter seals everything in and preserves it. You wouldn't want to make a char pie because your fish would be nailed. So potting it gently in butter is probably the way to go for what we do now. I'd like to see a little bit of char making an appearance, but obviously the Windermere char are under threat, so I wouldn't want to see everybody using them and bringing it back into fashion. I think that would be the wrong thing to do. Something like what we're doing here, you know, we're not using too many fish. It is very exclusive. I'll only take it off the fishermen as and when I can get hold of it. You know, it's not on the menu every day.
The char is a flagship species in the lake system. So if the char are doing well, then the lake is doing well. And we can see some impacts from climate change and from nutrients and so on. But we've still got optimism for the future with appropriate management.
We tend to come out very early in the morning and go off at 11:30. It's nothing to do with going to the pub at 12 o'clock at all. Oh, lovely this.